Food bloggers, hi, how are you today? Thank you so much for tuning in to the Eat Blog Talk podcast. This is the place for food bloggers to get information and inspiration to accelerate your blog's growth and ultimately help you to achieve your freedom, whether that's financial, personal, or professional. I'm Megan Porta. I have been a food blogger for 13 years, so I understand how isolating food blogging can be. I'm on a mission to motivate, inspire, and most importantly, let each and every food blogger, including you, know that you are heard and supported. No matter what age you are going to find inspiration from this episode, but especially if you are 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus years old and food blogging as kind of a retirement gig, you will especially find encouragement and inspiration here. Carol Borchardt from the blog From a Chef's Kitchen joins me in this interview to talk about her journey as a full-time retired food blogger. She's food blogging full-time, but is retired from other work. She gives all kinds of encouragement, such as not to feel intimidated to get started. There's room for everyone at the table, no matter your age. Also, don't feel intimidated by the technical pieces. There are so many services and tools and people who can help with this. It's not your thing. She has a really good strategy with social media and doing things that she doesn't really enjoy doing. So she talks about that in the episode as well. There truly is so much encouragement here. I really hope you enjoy this one. It is episode number 585, sponsored by RankIQ. Eat Blog Talk is thrilled to unveil the Eat Blog Talk Accountability Group, an exclusive community made for food bloggers who crave accountability, focus, and connection. We understand that not everyone is ready to dive into the Mini Minds group or the Masterminds program. That is why we've crafted this special offering for bloggers like you who want that extra push toward their aspirations but aren't yet able to make the financial or time commitment. Here's what the Eat Blog Talk Accountability Group has in store for you for this low introductory price of $34 a month. This ongoing membership has its own private Slack channel. You will gain access to a dedicated channel facilitated by the community manager at Eat Blog Talk, Taryn Soley, for questions, insights, and collaboration. You will get weekly accountability check-ins so you can stay focused and motivated with those weekly check-ins in Slack to track and achieve your goals confidently. You will have access to productivity focus sessions. Join these optional live Zoom sessions twice a week to boost your productivity by working alongside your peers and tapping into that collective energy. And you will get monthly group Zoom calls, replacing the former Clubhouse chats. Join these calls to connect, discuss current topics, share experiences, and celebrate achievements. Those calls will be hosted by me, Megan Porta, and I can't wait to see some of you there. If this sounds intriguing, head over to eatblogtalk.com/focus to sign up today. eatblogtalk.com/focus. Carol Borchardt is a retired personal chef with 22 years of experience cooking food people want to eat. She is also a former newspaper food columnist and mom to rescue kitty Olive. Carol is married for almost 29 years now with 2 stepchildren and 4 grandchildren. At From a Chef's Kitchen, which Carol started 10 years ago, she shares easy, step-by-step, chef-tested restaurant quality recipes that are easy to make at home. Carol, I am so happy to have you here on the podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk to you.
Yes, we're going to talk about food blogging as a retirement gig, which is something we don't talk about a ton. So I think it's good to shed light on the subject from your perspective. Before we get into it, though, do you have a fun fact to share with us?
Well, I've had the honor of meeting Julia Child.
What?
Not once, but twice at her book signings.
Oh.
The first time I was in so much awe I could barely speak. And the second time I mustered up the courage to at least tell her that I made her puff pastry recipe. And we had a quick but very delightful exchange about puff pastry. And 2 of the most prized possessions in my cookbook collection of 1,200 are the 2 that I have signed by her.
Oh my gosh. Okay, not many people can say that they've had a conversation with Julia Child. That is so cool. Wow. What a special moment.
Pretty meaningful.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so cool. And that ties in perfectly with the topic, food blogging and enjoying food and just being a food creator. So cool. So, Carol, we would love to hear a little bit about your blog. So, tell us, like, when you started, what your niche is. Give us a little bit of a background.
I started my blog just 10 years ago. My 10-year anniversary was June 14th. And it kind of evolved over time. Even though I've always loved to cook, I still, had to work for a living, and I worked in offices and did administrative work since the time I was 17. And then when I hit the age of 40, I was really experiencing a lot of job burnout. And I decided if I wasn't going to start pursuing my creative passions at the age of 40, it may never happen. And then, I really didn't know what to do. I had worked for a caterer part-time on weekends while doing the office work because I love to cook, and I was single and didn't have a lot of things to do. But anyway, a friend of mine, I met at a get-together. We were at a get-together, and she was mentioned that she was going to hire a personal chef to cook for her and her mother. And I was like, wow, can you actually make money at that? And she told me what she was going to be paying. And I thought, you know what, that's not too bad. And I started to research the field. And within about a month, I gave my notice and started my personal chef business. And then my personal chef service caught the eye of a local food columnist who worked for the major daily newspaper here. And she recruited me to do a biweekly food column. So that's when I started to get really interested in recipe development and food photography and just sharing recipes in general. Even though I was still doing my personal chef business, I started the food blog because one day I hurt myself in a client's kitchen. I fell and I was laid up for 6 weeks. And I thought, well, if I'm, now would be a good time to start a food blog.
Absolutely.
And that's what I did. My food blog was born 10 years ago. And the end of last year, I retired my personal chef business. And so now I'm a full-time food blogger as it's my retirement gig.
Wow. Okay, that's such a cool story. Unlike any other story I've heard. And I love that you started your personal chef business, did you say when you were 40?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, and I did that for 22 years.
Oh my gosh, amazing. And do you miss it? Do you miss that side of the business?
As with everything has a season, and I guess it was one of those seasons that was just over with. I felt like I had really done a good job over the 22 years. I had cooked for some really, really amazing people. I had some really dedicated clients. I mean, I helped raise their kids. I had clients for as long as 18 years that I saw every month or every other week. So it was just kind of something that was done.
Yeah, it evolved.
It was time to, start doing something else. And I don't have any regrets.
Well, that's amazing. So since you've been doing food blogging full time, what are your thoughts on it? Like, are you super happy? What's your perspective on food blogging?
I love it. And every day I'm excited to come upstairs and sit down at my computer and take a look at what I've built. My blog is called From a Chef's Kitchen because of course I was a personal chef. And I'm really proud of what I've built over the last 10 years. It's just a really satisfying creative outlet. I love the recipes. I love to share good recipes. Overall, I've got some really great readers. I hear from a number of them quite a few times, over the course of time. They, oh, I tried this. And, you almost feel like you get to know them on a personal level too. Yeah, it's like the best thing I could have done for myself. 10 years ago, everything happens for a reason, and falling in that kitchen and suddenly because I had a waiting list for my personal chef business.
Wow.
For much of that time, probably 15, 16 years, I ran a waiting list. And so I never really had the time, and was doing the newspaper column. I just never had time to start a food blog. I was always fascinated with it. And then, like I said, when I started getting more into the photography and the recipe development and everything, and I just thought, hey, now's the time. So there too, the opportunity just presented itself, and I decided to go with it.
Yeah, I think that so many people can get caught up in the fear of starting something new. I think especially if you're doing it past 40 or 50, food blogging can seem really intimidating. there's a lot of pieces, moving pieces to our jobs, right? So how did you get past that fear?
Well, when I first started my food blog, I really didn't even think about my age. But then a pivotal event occurred. I attended my first food blogging conference, and the vast majority of the people at the conference were much younger than I was.
Yeah.
And that did unnerve me a little bit. I thought, God, am I too old to do this? But the more I immersed myself in food blogging and the overall community, the more I found there is room for all age groups in this industry. And, if you look at, the community of food bloggers in general, there's quite a large contingent of retirement age food bloggers, and they're showing no signs of slowing down. So there really is room for every age group here.
I see that too. I mean, you're right. I do see a lot of the younger food bloggers for sure, but there are plenty of 40 plus, 50 plus, even 60 plus food bloggers who, like you said, they're not slowing down. They are busy, they are active, they are learning and growing. It is so inspiring. And I just absolutely love this portion of our little, food blogging sector.
Absolutely. I mean, retirement is a new chapter in your life, and it just offers a new opportunity to explore and learn. And you may have had that little creative thing you did on the weekends, but now that you're not having to go into an office, or you may have sidelined that creative outlet during your working years, now you can pursue it with abandon. You've
Yeah.
got plenty of time to do it. So I think it's just really healthy to stay productive and stay active and keep creating.
There's never a lack of things to learn either, to kind of keep you on your toes and keep you active, keep your mind active, that sort of thing. How do you deal with like the technical aspects of food blogging?
Well, I think one of the most important things is if you start with a good host and a good theme, I think that's half the battle. And then, there are ways to learn. There's so many good websites and companies like, Food Blogger Pro was really instrumental in helping get my act together in food blogging. And then there's just a lot of really good technical people for hire. Is it okay if I mention their names?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, well, like the Blog Fixer, iMark Interactive, Grayson Bell, NerdPress, Andrew Wilder, and even the food blogging Facebook groups have a lot of seasoned food blogging veterans, SEO experts, and support people that can answer your question. So you're never, when you're faced with a technical issue, you're never alone. There's always someone to ask or get some assistance with.
Right. And I think you said it well earlier, as long as you have a good host and a good theme, that really does cover you so widely, and it can take you really far, because a good host is going to really assist you in so many ways. You're not going to have to take on being the technical person yourself. So I think doing that is great advice, and it'll go far. That takes you a long ways. Okay, so I was going to ask you also about social media, because this is something that a lot of people resist no matter what age they are. How did you feel about social media getting into blogging?
I was not on social media at all when I started my food blog, and so I kind of went into it kicking and screaming. I started with just a Facebook profile, and it was hard to put yourself out there. I'm a private person. I grew up in an era where you didn't go, telling everybody your business, your beliefs, all these different things. And so it was kind of hard for me, but I do the things that I'm comfortable doing. I got into Pinterest. I work pretty hard at Pinterest. I try to always, put up the best images I can and try to stay on top of things happening there and follow the recommendations to post seasonally. That's just an easy thing to do. There's, if you're going to be on Facebook, start with your family and friends and just tell them, I'm starting this venture and I could really use some support and encouragement. And do you mind if I share my recipes? Or, do you mind if I start a intimate little Facebook group here where I can share my recipes with you or my posts with you. And, chances are they're going to be pretty open to that because it's like, oh, yeah, they always want, especially if you're a good cook, you're an avid cook, and they've been to your house, they're like, oh, yeah, I want those recipes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Flipboard has become really popular, and an email list. You have to develop an email list that's really important these days. And that's where most of your dedicated fans are going to be because they sign up. And, I get emails after I send out my weekly email, oh, this one looks really interesting. And, they're just more dedicated. They're all in with, what you have to share. And that means a lot. But yeah, it was hard, and it's still hard because, I don't want to do videos. I don't want to get on camera and do these various things. So I just do what I'm comfortable doing.
I think that's a really smart strategy. Just start with what you're comfortable with. And like you mentioned, maybe open with a controlled situation, like a really safe Facebook group or something, and just move from there, move forward in your business from there and do what makes you feel safe and what makes you feel comfortable. Do you get that feeling like I need to be pushing myself more or I need to put my face on video more? I think this is a common theme for a lot of food bloggers.
I feel that way a lot.
Yeah.
But again, I'm not comfortable doing it, so I just don't do it. Even though social media can be difficult to engage in, you can still connect with, bloggers in the groups, and, you can become part of a little mastermind group or something you can share with each other. But no, I just think it's do what you're comfortable doing, do what you like doing. If you're doing something that you hate, you're not going to want to do it. So stick with what you know, stick with what you enjoy. Don't pressure yourself.
Hello there, food bloggers. Let's take a quick break from the episode to talk about my favorite keyword research tool, RankIQ. It's been my favorite tool for a couple of years now because it has increased my traffic year over year, and it continues to do so, even despite the changes going on in our industry. Without RankIQ, my blog traffic would be probably in trouble right now. I was doing some perusing through my analytics recently, and I noticed that a ton of my roundup posts are currently in the spotlight. Roundup posts are something I started focusing on when I began to use RankIQ a few years ago. At the time, I wasn't sure how they would perform long term. Today, I'm really glad that I pursued them and gave them a chance. They have produced a lot of blog traffic for my blog over the years. Go to rankiq.com and type "what to serve with" in the search section of the keyword library. Sort from lowest to highest competition and browse through the keywords that populate, pulling out the ones that align with your niche and content. Compile and write at least one roundup per month for the remainder of the year and watch these posts rise to the top of your analytics. Users are always searching for ideas about what to serve alongside certain dishes and certain foods. This will not go away. Head to rankiq.com to get started with your own powerful list of roundup posts today. Now, back to the episode. And speaking of pressure, do you feel like this is true for you, that being at more kind of retirement age takes the pressure off with money?
It does. It really does. My blog has been monetized for about 8 years, so I've had a good start there. But when you think about it, a lot of people who have retire because they've already got adequate savings and, they're not trying to feed their family or it's just, they can do it more because they enjoy it rather than, oh my gosh, I've got to do this to earn some money. I mean, I see that all the time in the Facebook groups. It's like, I either have to make this work or I've got to get a job. And, my heart just goes out to people like that. And I know they've poured their heart and souls into their blog.
It's so much pressure.
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
I see it all the time too. Yeah. But not having that pressure kind of allows you to be more creative and tap more into the passion of it, I imagine, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. When I started my blog 10 years ago, monetizing was kind of in the back of my mind, but I started it mostly because I just had this passion for creating recipes and sharing them. And I wanted people to enjoy them.
That's a great reason to do that. And having the pressure of like, I have to monetize in 6 months or whatever it is, that that brings a lot of, just weight into your business. I see it so much in like the Facebook groups or even in my groups in eBlog Talk. Yeah. So just taking that off your shoulders is such a relief, I think.
Well, and if you do intend to monetize, the additional income can make for a really sweet retirement.
Absolutely.
Monetizing does not happen overnight, takes a lot of dedication, a lot of work, but that supplemental income can really, really make for some nice financial independence, later in life. And it's something that becomes self-sustaining. If I don't feel like working one day or 1 week, or in May, we went to Europe for 2 weeks. I didn't even do anything on my blog. And, it was self-sustaining. It stayed out there, and
Isn't that the best feeling?
it is.
I love that so much. And for people listening who are like, oh, I'll never get there, you will get there. You will get there someday.
You will. And like I said, it does take dedication and a lot of work, but before you know it, you've built something that you enjoy waking up to every morning and going to work on.
Yeah, and having breathing room so that you can take time if needed. If you're sick or you have to attend to a family matter or go on vacation, you can do that. And that is part of the benefit of kind of trudging through those first hard years, because it can be a hustle and a grind, but you will get to that place.
Definitely.
Yeah. So one of the things I think about all the time, because I have a parent in my life who kind of prided himself on work his whole life. And when he was done with work, my dad's life just kind of went downhill. And it's been really hard and sad to see, but like he doesn't feel like he has any worth anymore. So I feel like having a passion project like this with the benefit of making money just keeps your mind healthy. And I always wish that my dad had something like this after he retired from work. Do you agree with all of that? Do you feel like it just keeps you spry and active and healthy?
I do. I think it's a great way to stay productive. You learn new skills. You can share your life experience. I've seen it in my own house. My husband retired 2 years ago, and there was quite an adjustment period. And with me, I stopped doing the personal chef gig one day, and I got up and worked on my blog the next day. So, I already had something there waiting for me, which, I guess if you're thinking about doing something like this in retirement, you probably want to start right now.
Yeah. Get on it now so that it's active and kind of thriving by the time you're retired. But yeah, I sometimes think maybe I did it backwards in some ways, because I hustled so much when my boys were little. Now I'm not hustling as much, but now I really crave that time with them. So I kind of feel like I wish I could put a few things on hold and enjoy this time, soak it up to its fullest. And then when they're out of the house, like really dig in again. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. And you should. They're only going to be young ones, but the family commitments never end. Even, once they're grown, then they start families of their own, and then you have more family duties. So, we still see I've got 2 stepchildren who are both, one's married, one's in a committed relationship, but they both got kids, and, we're always doing something with them. So the family commitments never do end, but you should soak up as much time as possible while they're young.
I know. There's something so special about this time. They're both teenagers, and they both still like my husband and I. We're always in awe of that. Like, oh my gosh, they still like hanging out with us. This is so cool. So I feel like we're in the sweet spot that I just need to just thoroughly enjoy. But you're right. Like it never ends. There's always family or, traveling or friends or grandkids. There's always something to enjoy in life. I'm not saying that, but yeah.
But it'll be there when you're ready for it again.
Yeah, right. That's so true too. Do you have any encouragement, I guess, for people? Because I know there are people who listen who are kind of intimidated by food blogging, who just scope out the information. They don't necessarily have the confidence to get started or the courage to get started. Do you have encouragement for those people if they are like 40 plus, say, and just feel like they're maybe, quote, too old to start?
Well, I'd start by saying you're never too old. Just pour yourself into your passion. And there's a saying that if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. And I don't consider my food blog to be work anymore. It's a wonderful outlet that I enjoy doing. And I just say you're never too old. There's a saying that I always liked. It said, if it's worth doing in style and on your own terms and nobody else's. So if you do start one, just do it on your own terms and do it in style. You got to do it in style.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's such good permission for so many people to do it on your own terms, because we hear all of these things about you have to be on this platform and you have to be doing it this way and you need this theme. If you don't do that, then you're not going to be successful. But I don't agree with that. I think you can do it on your own terms and just let your business evolve as it is meant to.
Absolutely. And it will. If you do something every day to push that food blog up the hill, it'll grow. It'll be there. It'll take root. You can be where I am right now, just in a very, very satisfied place. Very satisfied place.
That's so inspiring. Talk a little bit about legacy, like building a legacy for your family, because recipes, right? A database of recipes alone can be a legacy for people you love.
Absolutely. About 15 years ago, I put together a family cookbook. I contacted all my relatives and had them submit recipes. And everybody loved that so much, and they love this cookbook. If that's not something that you want to do, it's a great place. A food blog is a great place to start doing that. I get emails or comments from people like, this tasted just like my grandmother. She never wrote any recipes down, and I've been searching for something that was like this, and this is it. So, those family recipes, they mean a lot to people. And it's a way, anytime I make one of my mother's recipes, I remember her. I remember her, winning a cooking contest with it or something. She was big into cooking contests. It's a way for people to remember you. So I think you can build a legacy of those recipes for future generations.
And help to inspire future generations too. I have to share this. My 14-year-old son, he's always liked baking, and he's recently started doing a little bit of work for me in my business. And so he's been going into like kind of the archives of my blog, and he's having to look through some old recipes. And I think he was inspired by a few older baking recipes. So yesterday he was like, Mom, I'm going to make some cookies. He created his own cookie recipe from scratch and made the whole thing, like his own frosting, little topping. It was so cute and it was delicious. So I
love that.
I don't think he would have done that had it not been for the content that I have on my blog. So I just felt so honored and kind of touched by that. Like, it's such a special thing to pass that on to people who, not just your family, but anyone who reads your blog.
Absolutely. Yeah. And he'll probably remember that, oh, I remember when I made Mom's cookies for the first time, and then he'll probably share them with his kids.
Yeah. That's such a good feeling. I love that. It makes me want to cry. Do you have any other encouragement, Carol, for, I guess, anyone? Just, food blogging can be hard. It can be a hustle. It can be overwhelming. Just any last thoughts that you want to impart?
Well, when it does get overwhelming, just take a step back and, remember why you started the food blog in the first place, because you just wanted to share. I mean, there's so much pivoting that we have to do constantly because Google does this or Google changes this or they, run one of their updates. And I think when it gets overwhelming like that, just take a step back and remember why you started the blog in the first place, that you wanted to share your recipes and you love to cook and you love to connect with people that way. My recipes is how I make connections with people. So, just take a step back and just go out and do something fun. Go shopping.
Yes, I love it. Carol told me to go shopping. Yep.
And then come back to it. And, everyone suffers from, everyone has frustrating days, or it's like, oh my gosh, I'm just never going to do this. But take it in little steps. There's always going to be updating to do. There's always going to be changing a post or, updating a post or reshooting a post. That's just kind of the nature of the industry. And just take it a little step at a time And I love what I think it was Andrew Wilder with Nerd Press at a food bloggers conference one time. He passed out like a whole bunch of things that you needed to attend to on your blog. And I think one of the first ones was, your blog is not broken. I think I got that right, but that's right. It's like, you know what? It's okay. It's okay the way it is. There's always going to be room for improvement. It'll never be perfect, but appreciate it for what it is and love what you've built. Love what you've built so far. It's a big thing to share, cooking, your recipes. That's a real, especially people who cook for a living or people who love to cook. That's something that comes from their soul, and they're putting their soul on this website. So, it can be discouraging at times that nobody likes this, nobody wants this, but they do. You'll find them. You'll find your true fans. You always will.
Wow, that was such inspiring advice. I loved all of that. So encouraging. So thank you, Carol, for sharing just a little bit about your story and for inspiring us today, no matter what age you are. But if you are like 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus, you've got this. You can do this. You can follow your own path and do things in your own way and create a satisfying and successful business. So thank you for all of this, truly.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Do you have either a favorite quote or words of inspiration? I mean, you just left us with tons of inspiration. If that was it, let me know. But some people like to end with a quote. So if you have something there, let me know.
Probably the one I mentioned before about, if it's worth doing in style, and do it on your own terms. Just do it on your own terms.
I love it. Thank you. We'll put together a show notes page for you, Carol. If you want to go look at those, head to eblogtalk.com/From a Chef's Kitchen. Tell everyone where they can find you.
Okay, I will. It was great talking with you.
Okay, so your social handle, is it just From a Chef's Kitchen on Instagram? And
yes, it's fromachefskitchen.com, and people can go to all my social channels from the website. I think I'm Chef Carol B on Pinterest. Facebook is From a Chef's Kitchen. Instagram, same thing. I think same thing on Twitter.
Great. Everyone go check out Carol's channels and website. Thanks again, Carol, for being here. And thank you for listening, food bloggers. I will see you next time. If you enjoyed this topic, you'll also love the episode I recommend in the show notes. Click on the episode description to find the link. Thank you, and I will see you next time.